Hello and welcome to the WOW, Connecting and Empowering Women Through Sports, brought to you by our partners, Fresh Fine Wine. I'm Jada Kenny, and joining me, as always, are my beautiful co-hosts, Stephanie Jokian and Janine Samuels. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
Coming up in segment 2, we have our WOW Spotlight featuring Julie Jensen, the Washington football team's Senior Vice President of External Engagement and Communications. She was the first Senior VP hire of the Jason Wright era, adding another high-level female executive to the front office. She serves on the franchise executive leadership team and is in charge with building and overseeing functions including all communications and public affairs. She's a former collegiate swimmer and coach. She is an all-around rock star. You're not going to want to miss that. So make sure you hang around for that. But before that beautiful discussion with Julie, ladies, my listeners, you can't see this, but I am rocking my Washington jersey. And I'm not going to say I called it, but I did not say that the underdogs could take this game. The Washington football team upset the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers 23-17. The first win against the Steelers in 29 years, since 1991, since I was born. Y'all, we did it. This is huge. Let's relive it.
Since you were born, oh my goodness.
It make us feel old, Jane.
I know. I was like, wait, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. No, I was super impressed with Logan Thomas. Terry McLaurin, he was covered. They had his number, but they didn't know what to do with Thomas. He finished with 9 grabs for 98 yards, his career high, and he was instrumental in the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, it's hard to even figure out who the WOW should be because the entire game, I mean, obviously there were some things that we need to work on, our offensive line, and I know that we'll get to that. But overall, it was just an exciting game to watch. We stayed in the game. We didn't let, their momentum get to us. And as always, second half, I mean, we brought it, right? And so for me personally, the biggest wow, Montez Sweat. Because when he tipped the ball and then Bostic grabbed it, like literally we shut them down at that point because I was a little nervous because I was like, oh my God, they're going to score and da-da-da-da. But like once that happened, I was like, game over. And it ended up literally being game over. So it was amazing. It was so much fun to watch.
Maybe our wow needs to be the hype video that Rivera shared with the team that our team produced, our hype video. Maybe that was it in his halftime speech. I keep telling you I need to be a fly on the wall for those halftime speeches.
Or just any moment Chase Young had, as well as Sweat. I mean, their energy on the field, the wink to the camera, the points to Big Ben they were doing. I mean, that energy was just so fun to watch. I mean, we joked it felt like the Super Bowl. I mean, I stood up the entire second half of the game, contemplated celebrating opening champagne, but I did not. Had to get up early for this. But, my biggest takeaway is we did it with 2 of our biggest playmakers, either out of the game with AG's toe injury. And also, like you said, Terry McLaurin, they had his number called. He couldn't do anything. They were all over him. And what happened? Other guys stepped up. We relied on other people and to make those big plays. And that just shows you how many weapons are on this team and what is possible. We got to switch gears. As fun as that was, we're going to skip woes because the game was electric. Let's talk about what we need to do against the 49ers.
Well, like you were saying, we're getting everybody involved, and that's what I really like about Alex Smith. He's getting everyone involved. Everyone needs to be prepared because without McLaurin or Gibson, new guys have the opportunities to step up. We saw Sims, we saw McKissick. He had a huge game running that ball. He had a career high as well. Thomas, I mean, this is our 3rd consecutive win and one of our biggest, as you mentioned, wins of the past decade. So our playoff push is on.
Yes, on and popping, and I am so excited. But, for coming up, I think, our defense just has to continue to do what they've been doing. They're literally getting our offense moving, but our offensive line has got to protect Alex Smith, give him just a little bit more time, a little bit more breathing room so that he can really just relax in the pocket for a couple of seconds and then do what he needs to do. So really excited to see what happens with the 49ers. Again, I think, I'm the optimist always. I think we're going to get that done.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to constantly say it here on the show in hopes that we are talking about this in February at Super Bowl potentially. But in all seriousness, we took on the number 1 defense in the league. And not only that, we shut them down. We shut them down on 5 consecutive drives on the 1. I mean,
they tried 6 times to get in the end zone.
Exactly. And luckily, I mean, coming up against the 49ers, they're ranked number 11th defense. So I think this is an opportunity for Alex Smith to really get the offense moving. Like you said, that's something that we need to continue to grow on as we play the 49ers. But, if we can do this against the Steelers, an undefeated team, then I really think that we have to put our faith in Rivera and really buy into what he's saying. And it can only go up from here. But I got a good feeling. I'm feeling good today. I don't know if I'm just like feeling a little extra confident after that big win Monday, but I'm feeling good coming into Arizona because it'll be played at a different location due to COVID this Sunday.
Has your business been affected by COVID-19? Have you considered reducing or moving your office space? Then it's time to call Victory Van. We provide the best service and price with flexible options for your company's moving and storage needs. Visit victoryvan.com to get your free moving and storage quote today. For corporate storage and moving, it's always the right move to choose Victory Van. That's victoryvan.com, Victory Van Corporation, delivering excellence for 75 years and proud partner of the Washington football team.
Finch Services Incorporated, recognized in its industry as a world-class organization, is the exclusive supplier of John Deere golf and sports turf maintenance equipment for the Mid-Atlantic region. In business since 1945, Finch helps golf course and sports turf managers maintain some of the most exclusive playing surfaces in the region. Experience the Finch advantage for yourself. Contact one of our golf and sports turf sales specialists to see how we can help you maintain your field of dreams. Go to finchturf.com for more information.
At RTS, game day strategy doesn't stop when the whistle blows. RTS delivers smarter, more responsible waste and recycling services. As an official partner of the Washington football team, RTS is connecting the team and FedEx Field with sustainable solutions to care for the community and the environment. RTS, a better waste company. Find out more at rts.com.
Welcome to the WOW Spotlight. We are thrilled to have joining us Julie Jensen, the Washington football team's Senior Vice President of External and Engagement Communications. As I mentioned, she was the first Senior VP hire of the Jason Wright era, charged with building and overseeing functions including all communication and public affairs. Before coming to Washington, she served as Chief Corporate Affairs and Communications Officer at Citadel, an investment firm in Chicago, and launched Connect Women, a female mentorship program. Fun fact, she was captain of the swim team at American University here in DC. Then after graduation, she went on to become the assistant coach for American's men's and women's swim team, which helped pay for the law school classes she was taking there at night. She also held senior positions for the presidential campaigns of John Kerry in 2004 and Barack Obama in 2008. Julie, welcome to the WOW.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. Wow, you've been busy.
I feel tired just listening to that.
No, I have a tongue twister, so I'm like stuttering. I'm trying to get it all out. It's amazing. So as we're joking about it, but you've accomplished so much. Prepping for this interview, I was just learning so much about you, just in awe. I'm curious, how did you end up in the NFL? Can you tell us, how did your past experience and lead you to joining the Washington football team today?
Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction. I'm so happy to be with you guys this morning. I watch you regularly, and so I feel like I've been trying to prep through watching some of your past speakers, including Jason, which is a lot to live up to after Jason's been interviewed. So, it's interesting when you start your career, you have no idea where you're going to end up, right? I'm sure all of you didn't think you would be hosting this podcast every week. But it feels like every piece of what I've done in the past somehow led me to the NFL. And I grew up in Buffalo. In a football family, we went to the games every week. We were lucky to have season tickets early on, and football was always something that we loved to spend time doing. And so while I didn't know that I would end up working in football, the pieces of my career, whether it was politics or working as a lawyer, organizing for political campaigns or corporate consulting and coaching, all combine into this role that what we're trying to do with this engagement and communications role with the team. So it's really exciting. I've learned so much along the way, and I feel like you kind of collect skills and experiences that then add up to kind of your next job and your next job. So as I was thinking about what I wanted to do next, I kept thinking about what gets me excited, what would get me passionate to get up and go to work every day after some of the really fun things I've done. And then Jason called, and I knew my vacation ended that day because it was an immediate adrenaline rush. I went for a run for about an hour afterwards with all these ideas in my head, and I knew that I had found the right fit.
That is awesome. Well, we're so excited, obviously, that you ended up here. We are, I don't know. I think it's just wonderful to have so many amazing, empowered women helping other women and being that voice for other women and just showing through your actions what women can do. And speaking of that, you actually started a female mentorship program, again, assisting and helping women. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was really exciting to start it because they hadn't had anything like that before. There were actually quite a few really extraordinary women that worked at Citadel, but at all different levels, and we didn't really know each other. And it feels similar in some ways to the team, where the timing was almost the same. There are all these extraordinary women doing really cool things in the organization, but we're so busy doing our jobs, we didn't have time to get to know each other or talk to each other. So we started this program called Connect Women. We branded it. We came out with the name, and they were so supportive of us really getting together and learning from each other. So we would host these weekly conversations. We brought in some extraordinary guest speakers, like Condoleezza Rice came in and spoke to our organization, which we actually let the men come to for this one because they really wanted to hear from her as well. So similar ideas that we've been talking about and you all have been leading here with the team before I started, that Julie Donaldson started WIN, same concept. Want to learn from each other, want to share experiences, and sometimes women just want to talk to each other about things, and they're not necessarily comfortable talking in the bigger group, which we all know. That's why this conversation is so fun, because we kind of get to do it a little bit differently than you might in a bigger audience. So I'm thrilled that they're keeping the program going. And I check up on the women there and talk to them regularly and hear how things are going. So I'm really excited that it's going to continue. I think it's going to help with the pipeline of talent coming through the organization.
Yeah, that is, yeah, and you're talking about WIN, our women's initiative now that we started, and it has been amazing. You're right. We obviously have our men as allies in our company, and we love them, but you do sometimes just need to talk to one another to talk about things that have happened, how you can, do better in your career. And so I admire you for starting that at Citadel, and really hope to you help us with what we're doing at WIN. So. You're welcome. Okay, so what has intrigued me is the presidential campaigns that you have been involved in. John Kerry in 2004 and Barack Obama in 2008, which to me was an amazing campaign. What was that like, just in general, for our listeners, our WOW women to hear? And then as a woman in that field?
It's such a cool experience to be a part of something like that. In 2004, we obviously lost, and that was really difficult. So to come back and win in 2008, regardless of your politics, for someone who's competitive, it's just an incredible experience to go through, and historic to have the first African-American president. It is one of those things that's very hard to describe, but I actually think there's a lot of analogies to sports. It's intense. It is incredibly competitive. You're working in this team dynamic, which I think is why sports is so similar in a lot of ways. And you're working towards this end goal of election day. It's kind of like your game day, except there's one election day versus game day being every Sunday. So there's that intensity on sports that's a little bit different. But it truly is such an extraordinary experience, because I think you learn so much about what other people are thinking all over the country. So I traveled to tiny towns all over the United States. I was in Iowa, I was in Wisconsin, I was in Hawaii, I was in California. It's amazing. I lived out of my car for almost a year and a half, honestly. And I had a 1-year-old on the road with me during the 2008 campaign. So he and I lived in Philadelphia downtown, and he's had some pretty crazy experiences. He was in Iowa with me campaigning. So you just kind of figure it out. But it's really an extraordinary thing to be a part of something like that, and being a part of history, even if you're one small piece of what that looks like. It's a really exciting time. And I just feel like I learned a lot. You have to be an optimist to get into politics, because you have to believe that you can win and that you have something that truly can make a difference and make an impact. And I think same thing happens in sports, right? We get up every week and we think, okay, this week we're going to win it. We got it, which we did, which is very exciting to see that Steelers victory for us. So I think there's a lot of similarities in the optimism and people that are attracted to those kinds of roles.
Well, I think you just said it, the optimism and being attracted to the roles. And that really details how you ended up with Washington, with that optimism and everything that Jason Wright is doing here. I want to talk about your role currently. And it's been said sports is a unifier, it brings everyone together. And we've seen it this year, the Washington football team, that they really want to bring everyone in. And we are trying to be transparent and build for the future. What are your plans and what are your goals here? And how do you see those actions strengthening the connection with the community here in Washington?
First of all, I feel so fortunate to be able to be in this role. it's really an important role for the team and for our city. And I wanted to take on something that I was going to feel very connected to the community here in Washington, because I had been living in Chicago the last 3 years. And before that had a lot of global roles. And I wanted something that was home-based here, that had an impact in our community. And when Jason called, this was the perfect combination of those things. What we want to do is engage in a different way. We want to engage more deeply. We want to be more integrated into the community than ever before. And we've been doing lots of great things as a team for years and years, honestly. Sometimes we just weren't talking about it the way we want to talk about it now. And so we're going to get out there, and we're not going to be shy about talking about the great things that we're doing. But we also do want to engage more deeply with the community, whether that's through philanthropy in the entire DMV area, Virginia, Maryland, and DC, which is really important for our players because they obviously live in all of those areas, as do all of we. We also want to lead on conversations where we can actually be the example for the entire NFL, not just taking something and trying to make it better, but doing it better than anybody else is doing. And to be able to use that as a model for the NFL and for other sports franchises, frankly, where we can say, here's how we're thinking about this issue, and we're happy to show you the lessons learned. And if you want to take that and run with it, then great. And I think a great example of that is the Think Pink program with the NFL. When Tanya Snyder started breast cancer awareness program for the team, that really was able to go on a much bigger level with the league. And I think there's things like that we can take and really take those lessons and show people what we're capable of doing. So I'm really excited about that. I think we're going to be able to make a big impact here in the DMV area. We also have some really exciting programs coming up and projects, including the naming and the rebranding, including new stadium ideas. So we've got a lot on our plate, and I think there's a lot of enthusiasm and excitement from our fan base, and coming off, if we can keep getting a few more victories, we'll have some good momentum.
Yeah, I agree completely. And a lot of times when organizations or just people in general go through change, there's resistance, right? And because you kind of want to keep it comfortable and safe. But I do feel like there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of optimism for what's to come. And it's exciting to see that the Washington football team is going to be, or is currently, at the forefront of change and being innovative, which is really exciting to be able to be in the front and show excellence and hold records and do different things in a different way. And kind of speaking of records, we read that you still actually hold the swim record at your high school, which is really cool. I think that for my track and field 4x4, my name is still up on there as a record holder as well. But talk a little bit about just being an athlete and how you think that has played in your career, and then ultimately here now with the Washington football team.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check to make sure that record's still there, so that I'm fact checking myself now. I'm gonna call over there and be like, you guys got to show me. I don't know if swimming's happening right now with COVID going on, so maybe I got lucky and it's still there. I've been a competitive swimmer my entire life. I started at a young age, around 9, and I was practicing 5-6 days a week by about 11. I love the sport. It's given so much to me. I was able to go to college on partial scholarship for it, and it helped pay for my law school. So sports can be such an amazing tool for helping with an education, and especially for women. I think being in a sport that was co-ed and training with the men and the boys every day, to me, really gave me a level of confidence. So to be able to translate into leadership, I think one of the things that's so interesting is that women that participate in sports in a young age tend to go on into leadership levels. And so if you look at a lot of the female CEOs that are out there, a lot of them came from a sports background to some degree. So, and it's natural for us to be working in a sports franchise to have people that were involved in sports. But I do think that there is a lot of training and discipline and motivation that comes out of being in sports in that way that translates into business or a career later on down the road. I was always afraid I wouldn't find something that was as exciting and competitive as being an athlete. And somehow I managed to find these jobs that are equally as competitive and interesting as being the actual athlete, and now almost more in a coaching role, if you think about it that way.
So we were talking about sports and how it's made us, I think it allows us to communicate better also in that men and women and how we communicate differently. Learning to be a part of a team is a valuable lesson. Like you said, we learn it young, and it just makes everything better within your journey in your family, your work life. So the best athletes we know of are our Washington football alumni. And they have been by our side in the community with us. I know that you're helping to grow our alumni program even further. So I'm excited to hear this because I value them. We've gone on tours with them, with our cheerleaders. They're a part of our rallies, part of our charitable foundation. What are your goals to grow that program even further?
Yeah, this is really exciting to me. It's like getting to work with celebrities all day long, right? Talking to Doug Williams about our plans. I mean, when I tell people that, they can't believe I get paid to do this on a daily basis. So the alums are really such an important part of the Washington football team family. And we want to build a program that engages them on a daily basis and really engages them in the community and a presence there. So people get to see them, interact with them, get to know them. This is part of our legacy. So what we need to try to do is to build a program where we're bridging the legacy of the past with the alums that are there to the future where we're going. And the present team is also the connective tissue in between those two things. So it's really exciting to be able to think about engaging with the alumni on content and storytelling, being able to talk to them on leading up to the Thanksgiving game about what it was like playing on their first Thanksgiving game and what's that experience like. We want to take these lessons and instill them in the current team, but also thinking about the future and get some of our young people excited about the sports because we have such a rich history. So we're going to build a more aggressive, robust program around the alumni, and they're excited about it. We got to talk to them. We did a Zoom call like we do with everything else right now, and had about, I think, 60 alumni on there. And we had a great conversation with Jason talking about the future, and the ideas they had were awesome. So we're collecting a lot of that information now, and then we're going to get out there in the community, and they're going to be a lot more present. You're going to hear a lot more from them and some of the stories from the past, but also figuring out how we can have them talk about the future.
Mm-hmm. I love that. As Stephanie mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to go on a couple military tours with some of our alumni and Super Bowl greats, and I always joke, but Mike Nelms and Ricky Sanders will be, if they're not walking me down the aisle at my future wedding, because I think my dad would have a hard time with that, but they will definitely be in attendance and dancing with me at my wedding. They are just great. So appreciate everything that you're doing for our Alumni Association. We somehow are coming to an end, Julie, but before we let you go, we always ask our guests on the WOW here 2 questions. So we want to try to fit these in. Can you tell us, how do you stay motivated? What do you do daily that gets you motivated for the day?
It's so interesting. I don't have a lot of problems getting motivated because I get to work with really amazing people. And when you work with great people, you just want to get up every single day and go to work and make them proud. And I've realized this as I was thinking about this conversation. That's what gets me motivated every day, is getting up and getting to work with some of the best people in the business and be a part of that kind of team and have a conversation with you all and talk to Jason in the morning about here's what the priorities are today and how we're going to really take this team forward. To me, that's exciting, and it doesn't take a lot to get me motivated. Sometimes I actually have the opposite problem, which is figuring out how to ramp down and relax a little bit. So I'm trying to get into the self-care mode at some point, but I think that's going to take a couple months into the new job to be able to get back to that. I'm not doing as much yoga as I was before the job, but I'm going to try to sneak in a little bit here and there. But really what gets me excited and motivated is working with great people and knowing you're having an impact every day and just trying to do a really good job and make people proud.
That's wonderful. I mean, there's that whole saying that if you are doing what you love, then you will never work a day in your life. And taking that a step further based on what you're saying, if you do what you love with people that you love, you'll really never feel like you worked a day in your life. So great to hear that. So the last question is just, if you had the opportunity to go back and give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I've received so much great advice along the way, honestly. But I think it really comes down to hard work. You just have to work hard at what you want to do. And I think if you make decisions for the right reasons, things work out. Sometimes I've taken jobs in the past where the title wasn't as big, but the roles and responsibilities were really a tremendous opportunity. And that was for the right reason. Instead of worrying about what my title was, I worried about the experience and the experience I was going to get and the people I was going to be able to work with and learn from. And that has served me really well in my career. And now I get to be in this really fortunate position to be a senior person in an organization that is really central to our community. And so I feel so lucky, but I think the hard work got me here. And you just have to hustle every single day and get up every single morning and know you got to outwork everybody else. and really be there for the right reasons.
I love that. I'm like, amen. My dad always tell me, you wake up and hustle, you got to grind it out, just like our boys did against the Steelers.
That's right.
I just have one, I know we're going long, but when you were talking about taking your 1-year-old on, to work with you on that campaign, it resonates with me because I feel so often that, as a woman working, you have to work like you don't have kids and raise your kids like you don't have a career.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice to, for us, to other women who are struggling with that?
Yeah, it's such a great question. It's really hard. I think maybe one of the silver linings of COVID will be that those dynamics have changed a bit because we've all peeled the curtain back. My kids happen to be at school today, but normally they would be here and you would hear them. They'd be running around. They'd be giving me ESPN updates. They make pop-ins into my Zoom calls. But when they were little, I didn't have that same level of confidence. And, I would try to hide them and try to keep them out of the screen because I was one of the few women that was running a conference call with 20 people on it and I didn't want it to be a distraction. But you have to kind of figure it out along the way. And I think it's messy and complicated and some days are awesome and some days are not awesome. And you just have to give yourself a little bit of a break on it and say, okay, today was kind of a disaster, but tomorrow's going to be better. And there were days I remember getting on an airplane to Iowa and it was a 10 o'clock at night flight and I didn't have any more diapers. And of course there was a disaster on the plane. And I had a really sweet guy who happened to be traveling with his toddler come over and help me. And I thought, you know what, this is a great moment because he's saving me on this airplane with a screaming 1-year-old. So, you sometimes just have to ask for help and know it's going to be a messy day. But I think we're all realizing that everybody has these challenges, whether you're taking care of family members or pets or kids, whatever the dynamic may be. And we just need to cut each other a little bit of slack on it and understand that everyone's balancing a lot at this time. So I feel really fortunate to have 2 boys that also happen to love football. And they are very excited about what's happening with the team right now. I'm finally a cool mom. Finally.
I'm sure they're so proud of you and your job. And I love what you said because, 2020 is messy. And I think what we've all learned, and Stephanie, is such a great question. And I'm happy that we went over because that is very important for our listeners to hear as everyone's learned to be vulnerable in 2020. I think it's what we've seen the most is, and we've seen that especially with this team as well. It's everyone's okay, like pulling back the curtain and letting everyone get a glimpse into their life and a little bit of invasion of privacy, if you will, because we're human and we're just being real. And I think it's really important to cut yourself some slack. Julie, unfortunately, we've got to wrap this thing up. It has been such a pleasure and honor to have you here on The Wow. We are definitely going to get you back here in the new year, give you a little bit more time to settle into your job, get you back into some yoga, and then get you back here to talk about the future of this team.
I would love that. Thanks, ladies. I had such a great time, and I really appreciate you talking with me today.
A new decade demands a new kind of wine as consumers continue to embrace healthier lifestyles with beverages that taste great and keep in line with their dietary preferences, and wine is no exception. Fresh Vine Wine thoughtfully crafts great tasting premium wines that are low calorie, low carb, low sugar, keto, vegan friendly, and gluten free. Fresh Vine Wines pairs perfectly with your active lifestyle without sacrificing on taste. Available in select stores in DC and Maryland.
Wondering what's next on the Washington football team brand journey? Find out with our new timeline feature at washingtonjourney.com/timeline.
It's all-wheel drive season and your local Honda dealers are bringing the best deals of the year. It's clearance pricing during the Happy Honda Days sales event. Dash through the snow in a rugged and adventurous Honda. Check out the entire all-wheel drive truck and SUV lineup. CRV, HRV, Ridgeline, Pilot, and Passport, with features like Honda Sensing, Magic folding seats, and 3 different driving modes. Clearance pricing is here, but it won't last long. Don't miss clearance pricing at the Happy Honda Days sales event, now at your local Honda dealer.
Couchgating is the new tailgating presented by DC Lottery. Enter to win a chance at a Washington football team DC Lottery fan pack. Celebrate your couchgating by sharing a photo using the hashtag CouchgatingDCL. To have your couchgating photo featured on the Couchgating Wall of Fame, please post your photos on social media using the tags Washington NFL, DC Lottery, and the hashtag CouchGatingDCL for consideration. Please note that not all photos will be accommodated on the CouchGating Wall of Fame, and all CouchGating photos are posted at the sole discretion of the Washington football team.
We are heading into Wow Overtime, and I want to bring up something that stood out to me that Julie said. She talked about in sports or just in your jobs or any other passion or hobbies, getting things out of it that what they can give you, not what they can do to you. So a lot of times you do things and you're like, oh, I'm going to get a promotion, or oh, maybe I'll get more followers on Instagram, whatever it may be. People are always constantly thinking like, what can this do for me? And what stood out with me is switching that mentality to what can it give me? And a lot of times, I know I do this for myself, I don't really think about what have I learned or gained, especially with this opportunity, you know, from being able to do the WOW and cheerleading for the Washington football team. I've learned to become a more confident person, a more worldly person. I've grown so much, and that's something that it has given me versus done for me. So I think it's a really interesting mentality and mindset, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
I think for me, my sport has been dance. So definitely like to swim for recreation, but not a good athlete at it. But dance has shown me about, and it's not the individual dance, but I've done the concert dance, which is a little bit more individual, but the dance team world that we are all a part of has taught you how to support one another. You're not going to do well if we all don't do well. Lessons like that. I've traveled the world because of dance. Our company's performed for President Barack Obama, like just huge opportunities, but yet a humbleness that's come with all of that understanding that it's we, not I. I mean, and all the cheesy things you think of about being on a team are so true and amazing and rewarding. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, same for me. I started with track and field, so cross country, indoor and outdoor. And I know definitely cross country, when you start, you're like, oh my gosh, I have 3 more miles to run. And so my dad always taught me, you know, don't think about the 3 miles, think about running to the next tree and then the next mailbox. And so that really taught me just one step at a time, you know, one action at a time. Just getting 1% better each and every day, because then there's going to be this compound effect, and then the big overwhelming task just doesn't seem as huge. And then in just the world of dance and cheer, you know, I started off in co-ed cheer. So that taught me trust. I had to trust that when my partner threw me up in the air, he was actually going to catch me. And so that really made me realize that sports is a team environment, and you have to trust your teammate. And then that parlayed obviously into the corporate world. You know, growing up like really fast in Verizon and becoming one of the youngest managers there, you have to depend on your team. It's no longer just about you as a leader. You have to lead in such a way that your team buys into what you're doing, and you all come in together to get the best out of it. So there's just so many things that I feel like I've learned over the course of, you know, my professional world, but then also definitely athletics. It's made me mentally stronger and mentally more willing to push forward for the goals and the things that I didn't think were possible, because I didn't think, you know, running 3 miles, you know, meet after meet and making it to regionals and states, I never thought that was possible either. So.
And I love that you said that. I was going to mention that is for our listeners who weren't athletes growing up or haven't been a part of a sport. Team is a universal thing. You know, your team could be your mom and me, your mom boot camp. It could be your yoga community. It's anything that's a tribe that is your community, and just what you can learn and gain and grow from each other. So don't just think you have to be a part of an athletic world to really feel that sense of community and that team, and to also gain growth from that. And speaking of team, we are your WOW family. We are your team. We are all on your team. So Stephanie, can you talk about any WOW events we have coming up?
Yes, so our glow up, our annual glow up will be this winter, end of January, maybe beginning of February, but that's where we're going to vision board. We're going to come together and we're going to set those goals for the year. But I love what you said, Janine, about one day at a time, one step at a time. And I think we should really address that these are our goals, but let's be realistic this year on how we're going to achieve them at one day at a time. So that'll be our focus.
Absolutely. Well, that'll do it for here on the WOW. We're going to wrap it up. It has been such a fun one, and hopefully it'll be another fun one next week after we take on the 49ers. Thank you to our partners, Fresh Fine Wine, and until next time, see ya.
Bye.
For more than 100 years, Chesapeake Employers Insurance has been helping Maryland businesses keep their workers safe. With competitive pricing and an AM Best A- financial strength rating, it's no surprise that Chesapeake Employers is Maryland's largest writer of workers' comp insurance.
At the end of every workday, someone's waiting for your safe return.
Connect with your agent or visit CEIWC.com.
Locally owned Novec is energizing the community in powerful ways. From sponsoring meals for first responders and medical professionals to donating generously to area food banks, Novec knows we're in this together. Novec and customers are funding crisis energy assistance by having their bills rounded up each month. Novec and employees are supporting local charities through Novec Helps. That's the power of working together. That's Novec.
And now, time for a Happy Honda Days clearance highlight. The season had grown cold, and the roads were covered in ice. Looking to capitalize on clearance pricing, Amy went down to her local Honda dealer and test drove the entire all-wheel drive SUV lineup. CR-V, HR-V, Passport, and more. In the end, Amy got a clearance deal on a new Pilot equipped with 3 different driving modes. Boom, baby, boom.
Don't miss clearance pricing at the Happy Honda Days sales event, now at your local Honda dealer.
Fred, this was so nice of us to share Maryland Lottery scratch-offs with our neighbors. Happy holidays, Selena.
What's this? Scratch-offs? Cool, thanks.
Your tuba is a nice touch, Fred. Well, 5 more neighbors to visit. What's wrong? Your lips are frozen to the tuba?
This year, multiply the cheer. Give holiday multiplier scratch-offs from the Maryland Lottery. Top prize $100,000. Please play safely and responsibly.
This football season, prepare your taste buds for the most iconic sports-watching drink of all time, Pepsi. With refreshing deliciousness specially formulated to keep your eye on the ball and mouth-watering fizziness to help you power through game day, Pepsi has everything you need to start strong.
I used to care when Mike cheered so hard he spilled nacho cheese on my carpet, but thanks to Pepsi, even Mike can't ruin my football party.
So this football season, make Pepsi your go-to game day drink because it's the only drink made for football watching. Pepsi, that's what I like.